Welcome to the second section of the course. Now we will look at the workflow and interface in Davinci Resolve 15. So here are the 6 steps in the workflow, and each step is carried out in a different workspace in Davinci Resolve. Here you see at the bottom there are 6 buttons that can be used to navigate between different workspaces. In step 1, we import the media we want to edit. In step 2, we do the editing as the name suggests. Step 3 is called Fusion, in which we can apply visual effects if we need to. Step 4 includes color correction and grading. Step 5 is for audio effects and is called Fairlight. And in the end, step 6 is for exporting the final video. Later in this section, we discuss these workspaces in detail. I have also attached a PDF file with this lesson containing the layout of these workspaces and the names of different areas on them. You can print it for reference. The first step of importing the media and the last step of exporting or delivering the final output are compulsory, but for the remaining 4, you can skip the steps you don't need. Coming up next, I will give you an initial quick tour of very basic editing in Davinci Resolve to give you a feel of the workflow. And then we will start exploring each workspace in detail. Thank you for watching this video. In this lesson, I will show you how to do very basic editing by combining a few clips together in Davinci Resolve. And remember, this is just an initial quick tour to familiarize you with the big picture of workflow in Davinci Resolve, and we will cover each of these steps in detail in the coming sections. So I'll try to keep it as simple as I can, but even if some steps seems confusing to you, don't worry because it will be clarified soon. So as the first step, I will navigate to the media workspace and import some media into Davinci Resolve. And here, media means clips or audio or pictures that we want to use for our project. So I'll open the media storage and navigate through media to the files I want to use. So here are some of the files that I want to use. Right now you see that there are no clips in the media pool. So what I can do is I can select some of these clips from my computer and drag them and drop them into the media pool. And it notices some of the media has different frame rate and resolution than in my project settings. And it asks, hey, do you want to change frame rate and format of your timeline to match? So I'll say yes. Change. So these 4 clips have been added to the media pool, and now if I go to the edit workspace, these 4 same clips will also show up here. And to see what is inside these clips, I click on any of these and you see this vertical line, so I can scrub through this thumbnail by moving this line to the left or right, and this window shows the preview of what lies in each of those clips. Similarly, I can double click it and now I can preview it. So this window is used to preview these clips. So accordingly, this area is called the preview monitor or preview window. And this window shows what lies in our timeline. So right now the timeline is empty, so there is nothing in the timeline to show in this window. As soon as I select these clips and drag and drop them to the timeline, you see that some new tracks have been created to accommodate those clips. And immediately you also see, right now it's kind of dark, but now you also see that this window starts showing the preview. Move this marker in the timeline and you can see the changing preview of different areas of the timeline. And as I move this to the end of the timeline, you see these pointed edges, which shows that there is no content after this point. So now this timeline is kind of expanded, so I can zoom in and out to see more of the timeline. Green area shows the audio track and this blue area shows the video track. Its name is V1. In these clips, there is not much audio. There could be some sounds of camera clicking, but apart from that, there is not much audio in these clips. So what I want to do is maybe add some background music to these clips. I can go back to the media tab or media workspace and look for some music, background music, add it to the media pool. And now when I come to this edit workspace, this music also shows up here. So I can drag it and drop it to the timeline, and you see a new audio track will be created. And I can zoom out of the timeline to see more of it. And you can see that there is a lot of area in this timeline where there is only audio but no video. So maybe we want to trim this part of the audio where there is no video. So to do that, I can click on this audio track and you see the boundaries are kind of highlighted. I want to trim this part, so what I can do is bring my cursor to the edge of this audio track, and once the shape of the cursor changes, I can just drag it and bring it so that it coincides with the end of the last clip. And right now you see this part has been trimmed. It's as simple as that. And now let me decrease the volume so I can play it from the start. And this is everything that lies in the timeline. This is that being played. And this is the background music. So now that all the media has been added, I can just click on this media pool to hide that, and now we have more real estate to work with these clips. So this is the most basic form of editing in Davinci Resolve, which basically involves looking for the media from your computer, adding that to the media pool, previewing it, bringing it to the edit tab. And right now we haven't done any editing apart from trimming this audio track, but I just want to keep it simple for this lesson. So we previewed some clips, dropped them into the timeline, edited this audio track, and right now we barely did any editing to keep this lesson simple, but there are a lot of ways in which we could edit them and manipulate them, as we will explore in depth in the coming lessons. This Fusion workspace, this is for adding different kind of visual effects and animations to that. And we can also adjust the colors of these clips and also the audio, but I'll save that for later. For now, we can create a new video from everything we have in this timeline, and to do that, I'll go to the Deliver tab. And here you can see that all these 4 clips have been added to the timeline. And here we can set the options for the final video. We can just create a custom video. We can create it for YouTube or Vimeo, but I'll just click on the custom. And here down below we have different options in terms of resolutions and format and codec. So I'll just give it address for desktop to save it on. We want a single clip created from all these videos. I'll press this single click option. Then export video in QuickTime format, codec. These are the default values, so I'm not going to change any of these. For the final resolution of the output video, let me use 1920 by 1080 HD. And frame rate, again going to use the default value. Now we can add it to the render queue. And when I press that, now you see here a job is created. And when I press start render, now it starts to render our final video, which might take a couple seconds or a couple minutes depending on the length of the content and the speed of your computer. So I'll just speed up this portion. Alright, so the video has been successfully rendered, and here's the complete video. So that's how we can combine multiple clips into single video and add some background music to that in Davinci Resolve. I hope that wasn't confusing. Of course, I skipped many steps and details to keep it simple. From the next lesson, we will start diving deeper into each workspace and the tools it contains. So see you in the next lesson. Hi and welcome to another lesson. And now that we have successfully installed Davinci Resolve, since I am using the Mac operating system, I will go to my Spotlight and start typing the words Davinci Resolve, and it shows up in one of the results. So I just either double click it or press enter and it will start loading. So you will see this screen. It will take a while to load up. So once it successfully loads up, you will see this screen. And this is actually the project screen where you will see all your projects if you have already been working on Davinci. But if you're new to this software, then you will only see this thumbnail saying Untitled Project. So these are the other projects I've been working on. And so this is a thumbnail for a project. But this is not a project, this is actually a folder. And you can use folders to organize your similar projects. So if you look at these three buttons here, you can select one of these projects and press this button to open it, or just double click on one of these projects. With that, you can create a new project. And if you want to organize them using a folder, you can create a new folder. So I will go here and let me create a new folder. Let's say all projects. Create, and a new folder will be created. So now I can select similar projects, just drag them and drop them into this new folder. So this is how I can group them together. So if I go to this folder, I have these projects now. But since I don't want to organize these projects in this way, so I'll just select all of them, right click and cut. And I can go back to the home folder and right click and paste them here. And I can also delete this folder by right clicking and pressing delete. So in this way, you can create folders and organize multiple projects into folders. Now, if you look at these buttons here at the top, it shows the version, and this slider can increase or decrease the size of the thumbnails. With this, you can sort them in different ways, either alphabetically or through the date modified or timeline and the format or the type of these files here. And currently we are seeing the default view, which is the thumbnails view, but we can also change it to the details view, where you can see the details of each of the projects, including their resolution, frame rate. And using this button, we can also type a keyword to search for a particular term among the list of projects. So if I type the word northern, here one of the results shows the project containing this keyword. So in this way, you can search for projects containing a particular keyword. So I'll change it back to the thumbnails view. And this was a quick tour of the project screen. So now we can create a new project by double clicking this or just pressing this new project button and typing the name of the new project. So I will name it project 1. Project 1, create. And this is the main user interface of Davinci Resolve. So I know for the beginners it could be a little intimidating, but trust me that by the end of this course you will be very comfortable with this user interface and all its sections. So from the next lesson we will start exploring this Davinci Resolve environment and all its capabilities. So I will see you in the next lesson. Hi and welcome back to the course. This is how the interface of Davinci Resolve looks like. So whenever you open Davinci Resolve for the first time, what you need to do is go to the top menu here in Workspace and press this option Reset UI Layout. UI means user interface. So this resets your user interface. And once you do that, your interface should look exactly like mine, and that's the default look for user interface. Now we can go to this gear icon in the bottom right corner to customize the project settings, and these settings will be used to export your final video. So you see here there are lots of different options for master settings, image scaling, etc. And under the master settings, two of the most important settings are the timeline resolution and timeline frame rate. So under this timeline resolution, set this to whatever you want to export your final video to. So you can select either 1280 by 720 HD or 1920 by 1080 HD or even 4K or any of these options. But I'll go with this 1920 by 1080 HD, and pixel aspect ratio, of course, I'll keep it to square, and then timeline frame rate. You can set it to, any of these values, 16, 18, 23.976, 25, 30, even up to 60. So choose this value based on whatever your camera shoots in or what you want to export your final video to. And I'm selecting these settings because once you start editing clips, you can change the timeline resolution, but you cannot change the frame rate. So I'll pick 25 and save. Now, one important thing while you're working on such video editing projects is that remember to save your work frequently. And the keyboard shortcut to save your project is Ctrl+S for Windows or Command+S for Mac operating system. Save current project, I'll name it Project 1, save. So now that project settings have been customized, we can start getting to know the interface of Davinci Resolve in the next lesson. Hi and welcome to another lesson. Now at the top of the Davinci Resolve interface, you will see these things on the left side and on the right side. Let's call them panels. Using these, you can open different things. And throughout using Davinci Resolve, you will see these panels at the top that you can turn on or off to adjust the layout and maybe get some more real estate when you need to. So pay close attention to these panels, because if you cannot find something that you're looking for, chances are that maybe you don't have one of these panels enabled at that time. Also at the bottom here you see these 6 different tabs or workspaces, and each of these workspaces is designed to do specific things. The first one is the media workspace, and this is what it looks like. So this is used to navigate around, import and manage the media files for your project. Next one is the edit workspace. This is how it looks like, and it is used to modify and edit the appearance of your media files. Third is the Fusion workspace, and this is newly introduced in the Davinci Resolve version 15, and this is designed for visual effects and animations. Next one is the color workspace. You take edited clips and perform your color correction and color grading on those clips. So when it comes to color grading and color correction, Davinci Resolve is a really powerful software, as we will see. Next we have the Fairlight workspace, and this is used to apply audio adjustments and audio effects to your media. Lastly, we have the Deliver workspace, and this is used to render and export your final video. In this course, we will cover the media, edit, color, and Deliver tab in detail, but we won't go much in detail about the Fusion and Fairlight workspaces. So basically the workflow in the Davinci Resolve, it flows from this workspace on the left all the way stepwise to the rightmost. So basically we add the media, we edit, apply all the edits and cuts and transitions and everything on that. Then we apply any animations or special visual effects on that if needed. Then we apply the color correction and color grading if needed. Then we have Fairlight workspace where we can apply special audio effects on that. Lastly, Once everything has been applied on those clips, we can go to the last workspace to produce our final video. So in the next video, we will just skim through very basic editing in Davinci Resolve, and I'll give you a bigger picture of the overall workflow by editing a few clips together. And once we know the bigger picture, then we will dive deeper into further details of different workspaces and the tools available in them in the later sections. That was all about the interface of Davinci Resolve, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Hi and welcome to another lesson, and let's get to it. Now we will start exploring different workspaces and their tools in detail. So here I am in the first workspace called the media storage workspace. So let's look at the panels at the top. This panel is for the media storage, and this is actual media storage under this panel. And this area contains the footage. I can browse through computers, look for different folders and directories, and from here look at the individual footage files. I can make this area bigger or smaller by dragging these edges around, or I can hide this panel completely. So you see these top panels these are like toggle buttons. I can press them once to show what lies in those panels, and I can press them again to hide them completely. Next panel is the clone tool panel. And here right now it says no jobs in queue. This panel ensures that your media is properly backed up before you apply any edits to it. So you can make a clone or duplicate of your media before doing any editing work on that. But for this course, I'll assume that we have our media properly backed up, so no need to do it in Davinci. So I'll hide this panel by pressing it. This space is the actual media pool, the media which we import into Davinci Resolve, it shows here. So right now it says no clips in the media pool because all we are seeing right now is the footage on the computer, but we haven't imported anything yet. So this is the space where we bring any media to process it any further, and we have to first add it to the media pool as we saw in the previous lesson. So now let me select this folder, and here you can see whatever clips this folder has. And I can click on any of these, double click on that to see the preview of that. And here you see in this area, I can see how these footage files show up. So right now, this is the grid view, and this basically here, it says the name of the folder which is currently selected. So whatever these contents are, I can make them smaller or bigger by sliding this bar, and you can see that these thumbnails are getting bigger or smaller. And when I bring my cursor to one of these thumbnails, I can see the preview of these here in this preview window. So by moving my cursor around on top of this thumbnail, I can see the preview of different areas in this, different parts in this thumbnail. In addition to making them bigger or smaller, I can also change it to, from grid view, I can change it to the list view. And now you can see that by moving this scroll bar, I can see further details for each clip in terms of its name, in terms of its frames, its resolution, bit depth, frames per second, and dates modified, date created, and so on. By selecting this option, I can even search for individual clips. So if I press this, I can search for individual files using a particular name or a digit or a phrase. Now, once a clip is selected for preview, these are the control panels for the preview button. So this is the audio. I can turn the audio on or off. Here, by pressing this and dragging my cursor around, I can scrub through the footage without actually previewing it. And these are the buttons to play it, to play in the forward direction, play in the reverse direction, stop it, go to the end, go to the start, and this is to play it in a looping fashion. And these two buttons are for mark in and mark out basically. So if I want a particular portion of this video to be added to the media pool, I can use these buttons, but we will look at them pretty soon. Now, in addition to looking at the video preview, I can also enable this audio panel to see different audio levels for different parts of this footage. So you can see that as I drag this marker here, you can see the audio levels for different parts of the footage. Further details about the selected clip can be shown in this metadata panel. So if I enable this here, this is the metadata panel. And if I select one of these panels, one of these clips, now it shows further details about that clip. So let me turn off the audio panel to make it bigger. And here you see that whatever clip I select, the metadata changes the details according to which clip is selected. The details of a particular clip it shows include the duration, the frames per second, the resolution, the frequency, bit depth, frames, data level, and so on. So for now, I'll just disable that. And the last panel here is for capture. So if I enable that, here it says no device detected. So this basically is used to capture video through Davinci Resolve directly to your hard disk. So you need to have some capturing device attached to that to use this panel, but we are not going to do that in this video. So you can see that we have a couple panels on the top left and we have some more panels on the top right, and I can toggle them on or off using their individual buttons. And in this way, we can turn them on or off independently. There are lots of ways to configure them to get more real estate on the interface. So I'll disable this capture and audio panel because we are not going to see any further details about the metadata or audio. So now let's change it to the grid view, and let's select a couple of these clips and drag them and drop them to the media pool. And once I select and drag and drop them to the media pool, it asks that the frame rate of the selected clip is different from that in the project settings. So should I match that? And I will click change. So that's a good thing about Davinci Resolve, that it can automatically change the project settings based on the settings for the individual clip you are dragging into the media pool. So here you see that I selected 4 of these clips and dragged and dropped them into the media pool. And now if I go to the next workspace, which is the edit workspace, you will see that those 4 clips will show up automatically in this area. And if we don't do this step of selecting and dropping into the media pool in this media workspace, then we won't be able to drag and drop them into the timeline in this edit workspace. So this step that we did here by dragging them and dropping into the media pool, this is a very important step. Now you can see that I just added 4 clips to the media pool right now, but for bigger clips, you might have lots of clips to be added to the media pool, which might get a bit overwhelming at times. So there is a tool in Davinci Resolve to organize your clips, and that tool is called bins. So we will look at the bins tool in the next lesson. Hi and welcome. In this lesson, we will learn about bins. So as I mentioned in the previous lesson, if you're working on some big project, it might involve lots of clips. So bins can be used to organize your media and reduce clutter. So you can create bins by going to this area which says Smart Bins and this other window. If you right click in this area, here you can press this button and add a bin. And let's name it Joshua Tree Bin. Bins are like folders and you can drag and drop files into them. So right now here we have these 4 clips. So what I can do is I can just drag them and drop them into this bin. So you can see this folder has been created in this area after the name which we set for this bin. So this is basically a folder for that particular bin. So I can drag this media and drop into this bin. So now whenever I select this bin, you will see that these 4 clips are contained in that bin. But bins will not move any of your files from your computer. So for now, I'll just go ahead and remove this bin. It will ask me further to clarify. And once I do that, now there are no more clips. So let me go ahead and drop these 4 clips again into the media pool. Another cool way to organize your media is through smart bins, which will automatically find clips that fulfill a certain criteria. So what I do is I first create a smart bin by right-clicking in this area and pressing this add a smart bin button. And here I will give a name for this smart bin. So I'll call it Joshua Tree Smart Bin. And here I also need to set a specific criteria so that it may look for clips based on that criteria. So first of all, here it says match all or any of the following rules. So I can set different rules here, and I can also give an option to select clips which match all these rules or any of those. So let me say any of these rules, and inside media pool properties, what I do is instead of file name, I rather select, and you can see here there are lots of different ways in terms of their names, their duration, in and out, start frame, end frame, and so on. What I'll do is I will go for the criteria that says resolution, let's say. So here is the resolution, and I can further select whether clips of a certain resolution or select clips which are not of a specific resolution. So let's say I select is, and here I will say 1280 by 720. So I'm selecting criteria to pick all those clips automatically which have this resolution. So now I create smart bin, and here you see the smart bin has been created, but when I select it, there is no content in this bin because possibly it couldn't find any clip which fulfilled that resolution criteria. So let me go ahead and right click again on this bin, and let me change the criteria. So edit smart bin, and here instead of 1280 by 720, let me change the resolution 1920 by 1080. So now it will automatically select clips which fulfill this resolution condition. When I press OK, you see out of these 4 clips which were initially present here, it has selected 3 of those clips. So you see, originally there were 4 clips here, but when I select this Joshua Tree Smart Bin, it selected only 3 of those. Why? Because these 3 clips, if I go to the metadata and look at their details, what is the resolution for this clip? Exactly what I selected for the criteria here. So it's 1920 by 1080. This is also 1920 by 1080. This is also 1920 by 1080. All these 3 clips have been selected. What was the 4th one which was not selected? It is this dark one. And what is the resolution for that? If I select that, on one side it is same 1920, but here it is not 1080, it is actually 984. So that basically was the reason that this wasn't automatically dropped in this smart bin. So definitely the criteria that I selected while creating this smart bin, it was basically taken care of while selecting these different clips and dropping them into this smart bin. So these are different ways in which I can organize media inside Davinci Resolve. I can create bins and drop media into those. I can also create smart bins and set a specific criteria. So now automatically only those clips would be selected and dropped into this smart bin which fulfill that criteria. So that was all about bins, and also we looked at the overall interface of the media workspace in this section. In the next section, we will start exploring the next workspace, which is the edit workspace. So I'll see you in the next lesson.